8 million people, a territory smaller than El Salvador, surrounded by nations that have, at various times, openly declared their intent to erase it from the map. Yet, despite these profound existential challenges, Israel maintains an air force that operates with surgical precision, missiles capable of reaching any capital in the Middle East, and an intelligence apparatus that discerns enemy movements long before they are executed. This formidable capability is no accident. It was meticulously constructed upon strategic logic that very few countries in the world have demonstrated the discipline to apply. Indeed, Israel is small. That is an undisputed fact. But small does not equate to vulnerable. Instead, for Israel, small means it simply cannot afford the luxury of losing even a single war. Grasp this fundamental truth, and you will understand everything. When a large nation suffers a defeat in battle, it can retreat, regroup, and recover. But for Israel, losing a war means ceasing to exist as a nation. This stark reality is not political rhetoric. It is a raw geographical imperative. At its narrowest point, Israel measures less than 15 kilometers, about 9 miles, from its coastline to its border. An enemy army advancing from the east could reach the sea in mere minutes, not days. When survival is defined by such razor-thin margins, the only viable response is not to wait. The imperative is to forge itself into the most overwhelming deterrent, force within a 1,000-kilometer radius. And that is precisely what Israel built. This journey began in 1948. Israel declared its independence, and the very next day, 5 neighboring armies launched a coordinated invasion from 5 different directions. This nascent state, less than a year old, was immediately thrust into its first war for survival. The Israelis fought with smuggled weapons, with civilians transformed into soldiers within days, with a nation literally forming itself in the crucible of defense, and they won. Their victory was not a stroke of luck, but the result of an organized determination born from having no other option. That inaugural war instilled a lesson they would never forget. No one was coming to save them. Not the United Nations, not the Western powers, and certainly no ally offering well-intentioned speeches. If Israel was to survive, it would be because Israel made itself survive. This profound lesson quickly evolved into a national doctrine, and that doctrine, in turn, became an intrinsic part of their national identity. The Israeli military, officially known as the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, or Tzahal, is far more than just a military institution. It is a comprehensive social system. At the age of 18, every Israeli citizen enters mandatory military service. Men serve for 2 years and 8 months, women for 2 years. But this is merely the beginning. After their active service, reservists are called back for annual training until they reach the age of 45. This means that in a nation of just 8 million people, there are over 600,000 trained citizens who can be operational in hours, not weeks. While most armies around the world remain distinct institutions separate from civilian life, in Israel, that dividing line barely exists. The mechanic repairing your car might have been a tank commander 3 years ago.
Charge forward, no retreat!
The emergency room doctor may have spent 2 years serving in military intelligence. The software programmer at a tech company in Tel Aviv could be a paratrooper by training. The entire society and the military are, in essence, the same entity. This deep integration fosters a unique cohesion that no standalone military budget could ever purchase. Yet, raw numbers alone do not fully explain Israeli power. Saudi Arabia, for example, spends more on defense than Israel. Iran boasts a population of 100 million. Egypt maintains an active army of 500,000 soldiers. Clearly, sheer size was not the source of Israel's strength. What made it powerful was the profound understanding that in modern warfare, technology and intelligence are far more valuable than quantity. In 1967, Israel demonstrated this truth in a way that left the world utterly astonished. It was 7:45 a.m. on June 5th. Within 6 days, Israel completely neutralized the combined air forces of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, not through aerial dogfights, but by destroying enemy aircraft on the ground while they were still parked at their bases. Israeli pilots launched preemptive strikes against Egyptian airfields in the early hours, obliterating nearly 400 planes before they could even take off. Deprived of air cover, the neighboring armies were left without any coordinated response capability. In just 6 days, Israel tripled its territory, conquering the Sinai Peninsula. It was 6 days against 3 armies. The logic was brutally direct. Strike first, and strike with such overwhelming precision that the adversary cannot recover in that initial battle. This doctrine has a name, the First Strike Doctrine. It dictates that one does not wait for a threat to fully materialize. When a danger becomes sufficiently clear and verifiable, action is taken preemptively, without warning, and with maximum force. In 1981, Israel bombed Iraq's Asyric nuclear reactor. The world was scandalized. The UN condemned the act, but Israel did not back down. Years later, most analysts would agree that this decisive action profoundly altered the course of the region. In 2007, the same logic was applied to a reactor in Syria with another nocturnal strike. Israel never officially confirms these operations. It doesn't need to. The message resonates nonetheless. This brings us to the Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence agency. But to call it merely an intelligence agency is to greatly undersell its capabilities. The Mossad operates in countries where Israel has no embassy, functions in languages that no other Western service commands, and leverages a network of contacts painstakingly built over decades in the capitals of the Middle East. Its operatives often maintain false identities for years, meticulously constructing entire alternative lives in other countries. When the order comes, they act with a precision that has become legendary within the world of espionage. Operation Wrath of God stands as the most widely known example. Following the horrific 1972 Munich Olympic Games massacre, where 11 Israeli athletes lost their lives, the Mossad dedicated 11 years to identifying and locating every individual responsible for planning that attack. They hunted them down one by one across different countries using diverse methods. This was not an operation of weeks. It was the relentless patience of a decade. Such sustained determination is virtually unheard of in any other intelligence service on the planet. For Israel, this type of response is not emotional. It is profoundly strategic. But from the absolute certainty that a response will come, sooner or later, no matter where. Today, the Mossad maintains an active presence on nearly every continent, infiltrating high-risk networks, gathering critical information on weapons programs, and operating with a level of discretion so profound that most of its actions are only confirmed years or even decades later. This strategic uncertainty it creates is arguably more valuable than any conventional display of military might. However, there's another crucial piece of this puzzle that rarely grabs headlines: the seamless integration of civil and military technology as a single potent force. While Israel receives approximately $3.8 billion annually in military cooperation funds from the United States, a definite advantage, the more revealing truth, is that Israel has developed its own world-class military technological ecosystem. The technical expertise, the innovation applied to defense, this is now inherently Israeli. Israel boasts the highest density of tech startups per capita in the world, proportionally more than any other region. A significant portion of this innovation has its direct origins in military training. The Israeli Army's Unit 8200, for instance, trains some of the most sought-after cybersecurity specialists on the planet. Its alumni go on to found companies that sell surveillance systems, digital protection, and defense technology to governments worldwide. Military service in Israel doesn't just produce soldiers. It produces engineers, analysts, and entrepreneurs who approach challenges with an extreme problem-solving mentality. The Iron Dome defense system is perhaps the most visible testament to this synergy. Developed with Israeli engineering and American financial support, this system intercepts incoming projectiles in mid-flight with a precision that completely transformed the logic of urban defense. While an interceptor missile is more costly than the projectile it destroys, it protects civilian lives. For Israel, that equation is not up for debate. Israel's power, therefore, isn't solely military. It is a unique combination of three elements rarely found together in a single nation. A technical and intellectual community obsessed with solving seemingly impossible problems. And a political will to act decisively when a threat is real, without waiting for external permission or validation. 76 years after that first war for independence, Israel remains the planet's only Jewish state. It continues to operate within a complex region populated by actors who challenge its very legitimacy, yet it remains the most significant deterrent force throughout the Middle East. This is not because size doesn't matter, but because Israel understood, long before almost any other country, that true power was never determined by size alone. Real power is determined by how much you are willing to invest, to innovate, and to sacrifice to ensure that no one ever doubts you will continue to exist tomorrow.